Good morning, welcome students, faculty, staff, welcome to our guests. It is great to have you all here. Happy Martin Luther King Day celebration, happy Friday. It's great to be together for this. Looking forward to our presentations and our program. Thanks so much to the Black Student Union who's taking the lead on putting it all together. Yes? And we're going to begin with prayer, led by Forrest Shake.
Please direct your attention to the projection for translation. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُوبِ وَالسَّهِيبِ بِالْجَنبِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ مَنْ كَانَ مُخْتَالًا فَخُورًا يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكور وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم عند الله عليم خبير إن الله يحب المحسنين. Good morning, everyone. My name is Forrest Shake, representing the Muslim Student Union. What you just heard was a traditional prayer written as an invitation into the action of Sonder. Through the prayer I just read, God reminds us that humanity was created from one source, yet shaped into many peoples and tribes, not for division, but so that we may truly know one another. When we are commanded to show kindness to parents, neighbors, strangers, and travelers, we are being taught to honor the lives of people whose struggles and stories we may never fully see. The call to reject arrogance reminds us that we never know what burdens another heart carries, and therefore have no right to look down upon anyone. In recognizing that God alone knows every soul completely, we are invited to respond with humility, compassion, and goodness, to treat each person as a universe of experiences known fully only to God and worthy of mercy and respect. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Forrest, for the prayer and for representing the Muslim Student Union. To our faculty, guests, and my fellow students, it is a privilege to stand before you today. My name is Cindy Sanders, class of 2027, and as Vice President of the Black Student Union, I would like to welcome you to our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation. Today we celebrate a man who dedicated his life to ensuring every voice could be heard. But before we begin, I would like to introduce a concept known as Sonder. Sonder is the realization that every passerby is living a life as complex and vivid as your own. Further, its application describes each person in this room as the lead actor in their own epic story, filled with ambitions, routines, and invisible challenges. It is a humbling, humanizing realization. As today's program ensues, you will not only hear from BSU, but also members of other cultural clubs in hopes of physically embodying the idea of Sonder. Dr. King's fight for justice was, at its heart, a plea for us to see this complex humanity in one another. For decades, the stories of Black Americans were pushed to the margins, yet Dr. King fought back. He forced the nation to confront the reality of those lives, demanding that the student, the worker, and the minister be seen not as stereotypes, but as individuals with inherent worth. Our theme today, Sonder, the Power of Every Story, is a call to action. We uphold Dr. King's dream when we choose curiosity over judgment and truly see the person sitting next to us. However, Dr. King reminded us that empathy alone is not enough. He did not just observe humanity, he acted to protect it. He combined the recognition of other stories with an unflinching resolve to challenge inequality. Today, let us be inspired to step into the power of Sonder, to listen more closely, see more deeply, and honor the story of every person we meet. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is William Howard. As a freshman at Brebeuf Jesuit, I find inspiring about the people whose work and ideas help build the school we experience as students. Today, as we gather for Brebeuf's annual Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation, a tradition that brings us into reflection, courage, and justice. It is especially fitting that we recognize someone whose life's work embodied the very values Dr. King championed. Even though many of us have never had the chance to meet him before today, the traditions and conversations that shaped life at Brebeuf still carry his influence. Mr. Friesel Brown served Brebeuf Jesuit Preparatory School from 1992 to 2018 as a teacher in the English and Religious Studies departments. And beginning in 1993 as Brebeuf's first Director of Diversity and Equity, for nearly 25 years at a time when few schools were engaged in this work, he helped Brebeuf live out the Jesuit commitment to human dignity, justice, and the formation of the whole person. One of his initiatives was creating his very first Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation in 1993, giving students like us an annual space to reflect on Dr. King's life and our responsibility to the common good. Guided by curious personalities, Mr. Brown listened closely to students and acted on their concerns. He created diversity dialogues, helped form a diversity advocacy group, served as the first moderator of the Jewish Student Union, and later supported the newly formed Black Student Union, ensuring that students felt seen, heard, and valued. Though he retired nearly a decade ago, his legacy remains present in his convocation, in our conversations, and in Brebeuf's ongoing commitment to forming men and women for others. Mr. Brown, please stand. The rest of us, please join me in recognizing and honoring Mr. Brown's groundbreaking contribution. Lift Every Voice and Sing, often referred to as the Black National Anthem, was a hymn written by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900. The song was first performed publicly by a choir of 500 students at the segregated Stanton School in Jacksonville, Florida, where Johnson served as principal in celebration of President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Over time, Lift Every Voice and Sing became a cherished hymn for the Black community and was frequently sung during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. The hymn has continued to be sung in churches, family gatherings, and even at NFL games. The lyrics reflect perseverance, faith, and hope, honoring the strength of people who have continued to move forward with dignity and resilience despite adversity. Much like any national anthem, this song is traditionally sung while standing. So I would like to ask everyone to please stand and join us in solidarity as our choir sings, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Nico Garcia, and I'm representing Be Familia. That's our Hispanic Heritage Club. As we know, Sonder is a phenomenon that occurs when you realize people around you live of equal complexity and diversity as our own. I believe that one of the best characterizations of this feeling is how we all celebrate Christmas a little differently. For those who don't know, I'm half Venezuelan. My mom is from Kansas City, and my dad is from Venezuela. That means, on Christmas, I get the best of both worlds. I love the culture behind our traditional American celebration with the white elephant, Secret Santa, ham and turkey, etc. But I also love the culture behind Venezuelan Christmas. Here's a brief view into what my Venezuelan Christmas looks like. When I'm done at our gathering at my mom's house, I go to my dad's house around 8 p.m. From there, we go to one of our other Venezuelan friends' houses to party. The party consists of a dinner where we all eat traditional Venezuelan Christmas food, my favorite of which, the ayapas, a corn wrap with meat filling, and the pan de jamon, a sweet bread with ham and olive filling. Trust me, it's delicious. After that is the gift exchange, which, unlike America, on Christmas Day, is traditionally done on Christmas Eve. Everything I've described seems pretty similar to the traditional American Christmas. However, there is one major difference between the two. After the more orthodox celebrations come the dancing. From roughly midnight to 2 a.m., we all dance to blaring loud music. Everyone dances, the 5-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, and even sometimes the 9-year-olds. What I found so interesting about these differences and similarities is that they reflect the uniqueness of every family. Even just walking from one home to a neighboring one, you may find yourself in a completely different set of traditions and values. I choose to use Christmas as an example because it's something most of us love in experiencing annually. And if we're all being honest, none of us ever really wonders about how other people might celebrate, even if it's just as wonderful as our own festivities. However, when we open our eyes to those around us, we see how everyone lives out their own beauty differently, which is to say, we experience Sonder.
I'd like to begin with a quote from MLK. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Whatever affects one directly affects all. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Brebeuf from the class of 2026. Every one of you sitting in this room is as unique and complex as the other. Every life in this room is filled with layers of elements that unfold and unveil themselves daily. While we may be different, we must recognize the fundamental similarities we have with each other. To illustrate this, we will conduct a brief activity. If you can, please stand if any of the following statements apply to you. And you can continue to stand if the next statement applies, and sit if it does not apply to you. All right. Stand if you have a sibling. Okay. Stand if someone made you laugh today. Stand if someone's ever made assumptions about you. Stand if you've ever been judged by someone who didn't even know you. Stand if you agreed to something or someone. Stand if you've ever been fearful of failing. Stand if you've ever had an immeasurable amount of expectations on your shoulders. Stand if you've ever been helped through a hard time. I would like you all to instead ponder about how these experiences affected those around you. How do you think it made them feel? How do you think they had to deal with it? We all go through life-altering experiences that play a big role in how we perceive the world around us. Because of this, we are still affected by the experiences others go through, even if our own personal experiences may be different. By participating in this activity, every one of you is hopefully able to place yourselves in the shoes of others. With this, my last ask of you is to hopefully return to this realization in your future encounters with someone different. Realize that while they may look, speak, or dress the same, under the shell of visual judgment, there is a world of similarity and complexity alike.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. To start, I would like everyone who is in a club to raise their hand. Those of you in cultural clubs, keep raising your hands. The rest, you can put your hands down. Look at how many of you are connected by this simple fact. Though you may not be in an infinity club, you are still in a club, and that matters. Connection is key to diversity, an essential idea of Martin Luther King Jr. Some of you may know me, but for those who don't, I'm Lulu Carey, a junior and president of our Asian Student Union. My introduction to this club was non-traditional, to say the least. I was a second semester freshman, and since our meetings used to be second PRT on a Friday, I would go to kill some time. Little did I know the world of fun I had waiting for me. No longer was I just a member of a club, but an advocate for a group of people. Though I may not look like who you would expect to lead ASU, I'm still Asian, and that is part of what we talk about in our club. Asians are a multifaceted group of people. We have different traditions, languages, religions, and skin tones. There is no one way to define us, and yet so many people try. We all have different experiences, and thinking in this narrow mind frame creates unrealistic stereotypes. This example serves as just one reason why understanding other people's experiences and being open to them is important. My Pakistani heritage, as well as my identity as a brown girl in America leading ASU, are traits potentially shared by many others around the world. However, the experience these traits have cultivated for me is nothing like any of these other people. What I am saying is not meant to divide, but to bridge the gap between us as students. Through this, I've grown to admire Dr. King's message. He desires so much to bring everyone in, to join us beyond our appearances, and give us the same respect, no matter who we are or where we come from. For us to be united, that is the dream. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Yanette Tyrone from the class of 2026. Today's speaker is someone whose work is centered on understanding people beyond first impressions, recognizing their stories, their struggles, and their humanity. She's a graduate of Brebeuf Jesuit Preparatory High School, class of 2012, and went on to earn her law degree from the Indiana University McKinney School of Law. For the past 5 years, she has worked as a criminal defense attorney, advocating for justice by seeing the full person behind every case. Beyond the courtroom, today's speaker is also an author and poet. She wrote the Christian self-help book, The Esther Effect, which explores faith, courage, and purpose, and co-authored a poetry collection titled Four-Letter Word. Through her writing, she invited readers to reflect on emotion, identity, and the unseen experiences that shape who we are. Her work, both in law and in writing, reflects the heart of today's theme, Sonder, the understanding that every person carries a story as complex and as meaningful as our own. She approaches her career with empathy, courage, and deep respect for human dignity. Introducing her today is especially meaningful for me, as I have had the privilege of witnessing that empathy, not only in her work, but in her everyday actions. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, my sister, Ariana Anderson.
Good morning, Brebeuf. This is definitely a very full circle moment. In 2011, which I'm kind of embarrassed to say was 15 years ago, I was the president of BSU here at Brebeuf, and I had to MC our MLK Convocation. So this is very much a full circle moment here. So I just thank each and every one of you, the board, for allowing me to come here today. Thank you, Yanette, for that introduction. I would also be remiss and get in big trouble if I didn't also give my youngest sister her 10 seconds of fame, Rhodas. So Rhodas, this is your moment. Hello. I'm proud of you as well, and I love you. She said, you can't get up there and talk about Yanni and not talk about me. So there you go. Also, it's amazing to see Mr. Brown here and my good friend Kayla Lewis spent a lot of time in Mr. Brown's office when I was here, and I appreciate you for being a safe space for us, so it's great to see you again. I'd like to read a scripture that I think is befitting for this particular discussion today. Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others." I'll be very honest, I had never heard the word Sonder prior to this conversation. I had to look it up. The definition that I encountered for Sonder was this: the idea that every random passerby is living a life as complex, vivid, and detailed as your own, filled with their own ambitions, routines, worries, and stories, making you just a background character in their story, just as they are in yours. As my sister Yannette mentioned, I have had the privilege of being an attorney for the past 5 years now. For nearly 2 of those 5 years, I've had the opportunity to train new attorneys on how to give their opening and closing statements during a jury trial. At the beginning of every training session, I would tell my incoming class, "Tell me a story." I've come to the realization that this is the focal point of the work that I do. I am quite literally a professional storyteller. So what's in a story? They tell us who we are, where we've been, and even where we're going. Stories carry tradition, they carry lessons, they drive us, they are our why. The last case I took on in Indiana before I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, was a very difficult 3-day jury trial. Multiple people were on trial at the same time, and my clients were unlucky enough to have had their every single move recorded from 4 different camera angles. So I told my client how difficult it would be to be able to beat the case, and ultimately he was convicted. He was very young, and he had so much potential. He had so much potential to the point that 20 of his high school teachers and staff paused their testing at their school to show up and support him in the courtroom for his sentencing. And with tears in my eyes, my client looked at me and said, "Thank you for everything that you did. I knew that this was going to happen. I just wanted them to hear my side of the story." Who would we be? What would our lives be like without our stories? A world without stories is like a world without light, without depth, without compassion, without love, without laughter, without the beauty that comes with difference. How self-centered and how boring to live in a world where only one story or one set of experiences matter. Listening to other people's stories requires presence, allows for introspection, it builds character, and it reminds us of just how small we truly are in the grand scheme of things. Well, I can hear you now. We're all people. We shouldn't focus on differences. I don't see color. We shouldn't have to revisit the past. We should just get over it. And if you feel this way, I would challenge you to consider the rainbow. It is spectacular for many reasons, but I would argue that it is the distinction of each color postured to the next that marks its brilliance. If we took away the colors, we miss the promise and the miracle and the meaningfulness of its appearance. That is to say, each color's beauty is that much more apparent because of the difference of the others. The colors coming together in unity, with no one color attempting to mute or diminish the brilliance of another, that is where the miracle lies. The recognition of our differences should be the standard and not the exception, and recognizing these differences is not a threat to harmony, but rather a step towards mutual respect and unity. Which brings me to you, which brings me to us, we braves, we men and women for others. Why should Sonder matter? Why would we care to come into the full understanding that we aren't the only ones living? And that's the point. It's not profound, it's not deep, it's simple. You should care. That's what I'm here to ask you to do today. That's what I want you to leave today's convocation with. I'm asking you, I am begging you to care. Why? Because you're not the only person living. You're all highly intelligent young people, so I don't have to talk to you about systems. I don't need to tell you about racism and classism and ageism and ableism. Some of you came into this room anticipating that. Some of you came into this room saying to yourself, we already know this. So I don't need to talk to you about all the isms today. I need to remind you today that your awareness of injustice is not enough. Your empathy, your compassion, and your respect is what I'm after. Dr. King said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I know Dr. King by a long shot, but if I could respectfully add to this statement, I would say this. Injustice may be a threat to justice, but it is not the greatest threat. No, the greatest threat to justice is apathy. It's a lack of consideration and concern for the lives of the people around you. You see, the most interesting thing about the civil rights movement is not that what was happening to Black people in this country was not common knowledge. The judges knew about the injustice. The students knew that Black people could not step foot in their same schools or drink from their same water fountains. The preachers knew that their congregations were monolithic. The politicians knew that the laws existed to exclude an entire group of human beings from being able to freely live their lives. The power of the civil rights movement was not only that they were able to create awareness of the injustices that were suffered by Black and brown people during that time frame. No. The power of the civil rights movement hinged on the fact that they were able to make people care. People had to pay attention. When you see mothers and daughters and grandmothers walking miles to work in their heels and their Sunday's best in protest to the racist policies dictating fare and assigned seats on public transportation, you start to care. When you see Black men in Memphis who work for the sanitation department walking down the streets not covered in trash but in suits, donning signage reading, "I am a man," it made people care. Seeing young people the same ages as each and every one of you walking into schools that had just been desegregated, seeing photos of mobs jeering and spitting at teenagers, throwing glass and bricks at them, harassing and intimidating them, I hope that these things make you care. And if you think this speech is just about Black people and you fail to hear the similar plights of the Indian independence movement, or the anti-apartheid movement and women's suffrage, and you don't hear the importance of having respect and compassion for your fellow man no matter what race they are or what background they come from, then you miss the point. I personally have no idea what it feels like to walk through a colored entrance. Nor do I know what it is to experience being bombed by another country, to live in a refugee camp, to be fearful that I could be torn away from my family and sent to a country that I was not raised in, or to be profiled because my freedom of religious expression permits me to wear certain traditional attire that sometimes warrants looks and snide remarks from others. But just because those stories are not my own does not mean that they do not matter. So let's forget about the isms just for 1 second, and I would like for you to consider your neighbor. Like not your next door neighbor, but the person literally sitting right next to you. Look at them. Do you care how their day went? I've been explaining many people, so I guess not. I hope so. Do you care about their home life? Do you care about how what you posted about them affected them? Do you care that they're stressed out about getting into college, making their parents proud, following in their family's footsteps, living up to someone else's expectations? Do you care about their dreams, their hopes? Do you care about what scares them? Do you care about their safety? Do you care about their access to opportunity? Do you care if someone hugged them today or told them I love you or I'm proud of you? Not someone across the world, but the person sitting right next to you. Maybe if we took time to care just a little bit more about the small things, the larger scale isms that I previously mentioned would be that much easier to address. Can I tell you a story? I remember walking these halls and I was headed to Miss Ame's biotech class. It's one of my favorite classes while I was there. And just before the bell rang, I ran into a classmate. And he was in distress. And he was crying in the hallway. And this student was always jovial. He was always happy. I'd never seen him frown, let alone cry. And I wouldn't say that we were close or best friends, but we knew each other. And I stood in the hall, and I comforted him a bit, and I was definitely getting ready to be late for class, and I didn't want to get a jug, so I was trying to pat his back and move along. And then I saw his arms. I'd never seen his arms like that before with cuts on them. I stood in the hallway with him, and we cried together while morning prayer played over the speaker. And as prayer ended, he got up, he didn't say a word, he just walked off. And I went to class, and I knocked on the door, and I fell into Miss Ame's arms. And she comforted me. She told me what to do and who to talk to. She cared. I didn't want anything to happen to that student, but I cared for him. I didn't know what to do, but I cared. He didn't look like me, but I cared. We didn't have the same experiences, weren't going through the same issues, didn't come from the same place, but I cared. And I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying this to prove that I am, but you don't know where the person sitting next to you is in their story. If the books of our lives were open to that particular day, and you have to read from its pages, mine would have probably read something like this. I'm a senior in high school. I've got senioritis really, really bad. I cannot be late to Miss Ame's class or I am going to get a jug. I just got my acceptance letter. I'm going to go to the vending machine after I get out of Miss Ame's class. I need to take this PRT to finish my homework for Mr. Graham's class. I'll stop by and see the bistro to ask about dance practice for Asian Fest. And I've got softball today. I hope somebody brought bagels. And then I need to go and make sure I get my prom dress after school. And the pages in his book could have read, I'm at the end of my rope, no one sees me and no one cares. That's why you should care. I'm not worried about what class, race, religion, or political affiliation you have. I'm concerned about whether or not the person sitting next to you can trust you to care. I am living proof that those of you in this room will be the next lawyers, the next judges, teachers, politicians, preachers, inventors, businessmen and women. You all will graduate and grow up and you will have influence and power and you will have seats at great tables. And the little girl who is concerned about being separated from her family cannot afford for you not to care. The young man on trial cannot afford for you to take the judicial bench and not care. The woman who is concerned about whether or not she will have affordable health care cannot afford for you to be a part of the General Assembly and not care. I'm certain that the families of Fernando Castillo and Masai Nini and Renee Nicole Good cannot continue to live in a world where we do not care. The person experiencing injustice in your city and across the globe cannot afford for you not to care. We can't afford to live in a world where we don't care. I'll be forever grateful for the Miss Names and the Miss Anays and the Mr. Browns, the Mr. Mayers and Mr. Penny, Mr. Tags. And God bless them, the Father Michael Cristianos, Mr. Bill Higgs, the Coach Poindexters, the Senora Banks here at Brebeuf. I appreciate you for caring. So as you write your stories and as you journey through life, as you encounter new people, I hope you care. Care about the person who brings your plate to the table at the restaurant. Care about the people in other countries who are begging someone to care. Care about how you can impact someone else's life outside of your own. Care enough to stand up against injustice. Care enough to speak up for someone else. Care even though they don't look like you. They don't talk like you, and they don't speak the same language as you. Care when other people tell you not to care. Care because you aren't the only one living, and somebody else may decide to keep writing their story because you cared. I hope you live good lives and have a great story to share about all you were able to accomplish, and in the meantime, I hope that somewhere down the line, you make a positive contribution to someone else's story as you continue to write your own. I hope you care. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sydney Hogue, and I am the president of Black Student Union. On behalf of the Black Student Union and the entire Brebeuf community, I would like to thank Ms. Anderson for her words of wisdom and her willingness to return home and inspire us today. Your message reminded us of the power of story. I would also like you all to reflect and notice a difference that we did this year. This year we invited other cultural clubs to be a part of our annual MLK Convo. We wanted to show how other cultures experience similar things as everyone in this room. In America, sometimes we always see it as black and white, and we forget about the other cultures that make this great country great. So today I would like the speakers to stand as we recognize them. I would also like to thank the Martin Luther King Convocation Council, especially Mr. Carter Robinson, our MLK Council Chair. They've all put an unimaginable amount of work into this convocation to make it what it is today. So thank you all. To further embody the theme of Sonder, our choir will now perform a selection that reflects the principles of togetherness and understanding. As they sing, we invite you to listen and sing along as you continue to reflect on Ms. Anderson's message of caring and empathy.
Upside down.
final, enduring challenge, not merely to admire his words, but to practice his way of saying. Near the end of his life, Dr. King often reflected on the biblical parable of the Good Samaritan, a story of a man beaten, robbed, and left on the side of the road while others passed by him. Dr. King explained that people who ignored the injured man were not necessarily cruel, they were cautious. They were focused on their own safety, their own schedules, their own concerns. Moments like these shape Dr. King's belief that the true moral turning point comes when we change the question we ask. Instead of asking, what might happen to me if I choose to help and care for another, Dr. King challenged us to ask a different question. What will happen to that person if I choose not to stop, to help and care? That shift in thinking brings us back to Ms. Anderson's message today, that progress does not begin with grand gestures, but with the simple decision to care for one another again. When we choose to see others not as interruptions, but as people deserving of compassion, we take the first step to becoming the beloved community that Dr. King challenged us to become. Through this, Dr. King reminds us that people in need are not interruptions or conveniences, but real human beings whose lives and well-being may depend on whether someone chooses to care. Today, we define that recognition as Sonder, the realization that every person we encounter carries a life as complex, as meaningful, and as unfinished as our own. Each student in our classroom, each teacher and staff member, and each neighbor beyond these walls, including the homeless, the impoverished, the immigrant, the foreigner, and victims of warfare, is the center of a story we do not fully know yet. Dr. King understood that injustice thrives when we fail to see one another fully. But he also believed in agape love, which is defined as unconditional love. He believed that becomes a reality when we choose indifference, we choose empathy over indifference, imagination over fear, and courage over convenience. At Brebeuf, we are often called to be men and women for and with others. Dr. King's life teaches that this is not just a slogan, it is a discipline, calling us to acknowledge who makes us uncomfortable, whose stories we would rather not hear, and who we are tempted to pass by even when stopping could cost us time, safety, or certainty. As we leave this space, may we carry forward Dr. King's vision by honoring the unseen stories around us. May we choose to stop. May we choose to see. And in doing so, may we build the just and compassionate world Dr. King dreamed of and worked for until his final breath. As you step back and truly view the world for what it is, you will hopefully realize that while we may have all come on different ships, we are all in the same boat now. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm just up here to bring us to a conclusion and make some final announcements and some final thank yous. And as I stand up here, my heart is full with inspiration and gratitude. I'm just let's first give some gratitude together again to Carter Robinson. To the Black Student Union and their moderators. Got a good group of guests here, parents and community friends. Thank you for being here today too. Mr. Frizzell Brown, my colleague, and his wife, Senora Brown, also a Spanish teacher here for years. We love you both. Thank you both for being back here with us. Thank you to our choir. Great job. And to all of our student speakers today, you did a great job. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for your attention, for your listening, and let's thank everyone and say a few words about Ms. Anderson and thanking her. It is a great honor and privilege for us to get a chance to hear from her, as you can definitely tell from her words, inspiring person, and there's not much that can make me more proud to be a part of this community and grateful to be a part of this community than seeing our alumni out in the world in the way that Ms. Anderson is, the work that she's doing, with the wisdom that she has, with the love and compassion that she shared for us, the challenge that she shared for us today. Just a quick story about Ms. Anderson. Also, 2-ish years ago, I had a chance to be on a jury pool. Students, you haven't experienced this before, but adults, you may have. I was called for jury duty, and I had to go down and show up for jury duty, and it turned out that Ms. Anderson was the public defender in that case. And it got to the point, I got to hear a little bit in the opening process of her compassion and her care and how she humanized everybody that was associated with that situation. And then it got to where they asked the jury if there's some reason that you can't serve on this jury. And I said, well, I know the attorney in this case. And they asked what my association with her was. And I said, I'm the principal of the school where she went. And I was really proud to say it was an intimidating situation, but I was proud to say that. And I think the follow-up question was from the judge was, does that mean that you feel like you can't give a fair and indifferent judgment in this case as a jury member? And I said, there's no way I can be fair and indifferent with my respect for Ms. Anderson. And you can see why you all are formed over 4 years as men and women for others, and the grad. And 10 years from now, this is the result of what we hope for and see in all of you, and it makes me very proud. So let me just thank, on behalf of the Brebeuf Jesuit, Ms. Anderson, for all that you shared with us today. Thank you so much. Okay, before we dismiss, for the long weekend, hope you enjoy the long weekend. Take a moment with your families to celebrate the legacy of Dr. King, whatever way your family might do that. Come cheer on our winter sports teams, girls basketball tonight here against North Central. Let's go girls basketball. And wrestling, can our girls wrestling team please stand?